It's good to see you guys. You know, to go through a week like last week where you're working to get things solidified and fixed and identified, and here's our standard, and here's where we met the standard, here's where we fell below, and to put all that in, and then to have the focus and the effort that showed up on Saturday is good to see. You know, knowing it's a long journey that we're on, and this is a step in that journey. But with all that said, it's good to see. And so proud of the players, proud of the staff, and their attention to detail and their focus on the process. And so looking forward to this next week. You know, I think one thing particularly with Kansas is you could see their improvement, and you could see their level of effort, and you can see their level of buy-in. There is a strong correlation with those things and the coaching staff that they have. And so to see it this early in their tenure is a great statement for them. But I think when you pop on the film, their level of effort and care factor jumps off the video at you. And so we're excited about the opportunity. Take any questions you guys got.
Dave, obviously it's just been 2 games, but are you pleased with the level of development you guys have going into the Big 12, such an early Big 12 game?
I feel as if we're developing. You know, I can see the confidence, particularly on offense when there was limited confidence, and so I could see the confidence building. You know, from our spring scrimmages to our fall camp scrimmages to you know, these past 2 games. And so I could see that building. I think there is the formation of belief there. I think our coaches on that side of the ball, a fair amount of them are new. I think their understanding of our players and strengths and weaknesses is growing stronger. And, you know, who's who and what's what, I think is becoming clearer. I think on defense, I think you know, the ability to use all of our pieces in a way that really comes together on a real strong identity is still being worked on. I think we've got some guys that can still mature and grow into the roles that we like for them to have. I think this week's a big week for that. And then I think on special teams, I think, you know, especially with our specialists, there's some shining areas. I think collectively we can. There's a lot to improve, a lot of room to improve, and so, you know, I feel like we're on the right track. I can sense that. I think everyone knows there's a lot of work to be done.
Coach, you've still got a lot of oars on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking for a 5 starting, or do you think you'll continue a rotation?
We're looking for a 5 starting. I think that right tackle spot, there could be some more rotation there than some of the other spots. I think the continual push, though, of some of those oars is always going to be welcomed, and the ability to get the most out of that next tier, I think was something that was definitely missing from last year, and something I think strengthens the group. But I think there is a competition at that right tackle spot, and so we'll see kind of what becomes of all that. There's good showings on both sides of it, both with Byers and Keith this last Saturday.
Dave, did you see that group as a whole take another step? Because they were pretty good that opening week, but it seems like they were maybe more dominant this week.
Confidence is such a important and such a almost really overlooked thing. I think for someone to be wherever they're at and then to want to achieve more and be more and become something they're not takes confidence. You know, you step outside of your comfort zone and you have to trust the aid that's helping you, walk you to where you want to get to. And so I could see a real strong change in confidence in that group. I think Eric's done a great job. Mateos, like I've mentioned before, but I think just their connectedness and their level of honesty and keeping stuff real is way unique and way strong. I would bet on us with that group continuing to get better.
Dave, through 2 games, the running game has been extremely productive.
Mm-hmm.
What would you pinpoint as just maybe the biggest thing that has kind of led to this jump from last year to this year?
It's a tough question. There's a lot of things involved there. I think simplicity, if I had to choose one. I think so many times, simple is sophisticated. I think sometimes things get complex because there's the level of understanding isn't there, and things aren't eliminated that are wasteful. There's not that clear vision of this is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we need. It's more of, well, I got a little bit of this just in case, I got a little bit of that just for this, I got a little bit of this other thing if something else were to come about. And so I think offensively with Jeff Grimes and Eric and Chancey and Justin and Sean, they really worked hard to, this is us, we're a wide zone, play action pass, shot team, and the focus has been just on that. And so there's going to be, along with that comes formations, personnels where it's like 80% run, right, or 90% run. And so people, there's always the ability to play off of that when needed, but someone's got to stop those numbers first, and they're going to have to make an adjustment to do that, and that's going to open up. If you're doing this to stop the fastball, it's going to open up the curve and the change that are always there. You know what I mean? But it starts with being simple first, and I feel they've done a great job of that.
Coach, Kansas is a program that has gone through a lot of coaching changes. What difficulties is that presenting you preparing for them schematically, and how their talent fits into what new scheme may be there now?
No, I appreciate the question. I think in looking at their 2 games, you can see correlation with Buffalo tape. I think the Buffalo tape is more advanced. They're longer. Kansas, I don't believe they had spring ball, and so the Buffalo tape is much more into the weeds with their scheme. When I look at just the Kansas tape, I see it being simple. I see it being, hey, we haven't had them that long. 1, I also think 2, right? Let's get them to play as hard as we can. Let's focus on some of the things that we just got done talking about on offense. Let's focus on the things that matter in terms of the how you do things as opposed to the what you're doing. And then I think, just the MO from the coaching staff, as I know them, going all the way back to Wisconsin, is that that's how they've always done it. And so you look at the film, those 3 things kind of pop right at you. And so you could see possibly some growth from maybe this part of a package to maybe that part of a package, but I think there's a real strong identity with what they got. And so, we have to prepare for how they play more so than what they're doing.
Coach, installing the wide zone, how much the offense has been reserved to this point that will be opened up going into conference play?
It's interesting. I think that question probably comes from a different perspective. I think, the one that I would speak to would be, we want to be basic in our approach on offense, and then force the hand of whoever's on the other side of it in terms of 8-man fronts, press coverage, deep post safety, 9-man front, both safeties in the run fit, right? And then having the availability of play action pass and drop back pass and shot throws that can take advantage of those things. And so I think the more we get, the better we get at our basic, simple stuff, the more it opens up those for defenses to overcompensate, where now there's ability to make big plays in the back end. And so I think from that perspective, it's not one of like, hey, we're doing this and holding that. It's more of we're going to do what we do, right, and get really good at it. And when things open up, we're going to take advantage of them. So I hope that answers your question.
Dave, J.T. Woods was named Big 12 Co-Defensive Player of the Week. What do you see from him out there? Why does he have such good instincts for forcing turnovers and such?
He has an ease about him when he plays. I think he plays, we would use the term playing green. He plays fast and plays free, you know. I think there's certain guys, particularly in the back end. I think secondary and then O-line, this also shows up. I think when you're looking at just football positions, you know, there's certain guys where, hey, it's whatever you tell them, that is exactly what they're going to do, you know? And I think sometimes that's good. A lot of times that ain't good, you know? And then I think there's other times, there's other guys where, you know, you tell them something and then they got it in their mind and it doesn't process and it slows them down. I think one of the things that make JT really unique is just his ability to take in a boatload of information, but then he processes it so quick, and he can play fast and play like he's you know, out there in the schoolyard running around having fun. And I think that is contagious, you know. And so I think his ability to, you know, play a half but have great vision and know, and you know, red light stop, green light go when it's a red light, and he can still go, you know. I think there's some of that that's taken place, and you feel comfortable enough with that when there is a real strong understanding of what red light and green light means, you know. And so he's playing that game. He's playing it well right now.
Texas Southern gave you a chance to play a lot of reserves. Give us your assessment, especially of your backup quarterbacks and any other reserves that might have stood out on the video after the game.
Yeah, it was good to get guys in. I know that was, I think anytime you have the opportunity to do that, I think it builds your morale and it builds, you know, it gives validation for all the work that goes into it, you know. And so I think quarterback-wise, I thought there was good things, you know. I think the opportunity to get drives and to take ownership of a drive and get in those situations where, you know, Jacob's got to be able to make a conversion, or, you know, Blake's got to be able to make a read and make a protection adjustment. All of those things, I think, they're one thing when they're in a meeting, it's another thing. They're on a practice field, it's yet another when it's under the lights. And so those are invaluable. I thought there was good things from them. I thought, you know, receiver-wise, we had a fair amount of guys in. I thought they were able to block and really show great effort. We make an effort reel that we try to highlight as kind of, you know, the Baylor ID. This is our thumbprint. This is who we are. A couple of guys made that reel. I thought, you know, defensively, linebacker-wise, secondary-wise, you know, I'm looking at good effort throughout. I think we had Tyrone Brown get a couple snaps. I thought, you know, we had, I think we had some good rotation in our secondary. I think we played about everybody that came on with us, and so it was good to do that. I think, you know, our ability to take advantage of that, I think, says a lot of our coaches and their ability to develop people. And then for our guys to go out and take advantage of it is yet another thing. So it was good.
Dave, especially on that first drive, you rolled the dice a few times on fourth down. Was that just a matter of you feeling confident in the offense, or do you feel like you're a little more aggressive as a coach this season in those kind of scenarios?
You know, that's a good question. I haven't thought of it in those terms. I just think, you know, the ability to look at third down as two downs, I think, enhances our ability to get first downs. So if we can look at it that way and then, you know, play the numbers, so to speak, then let's do that. Now, we haven't been on the other side of that, of not making those yet. And so, that is eventually going to come, and that'll probably highlight, some of those decisions. But I think our kids know when we're putting faith and trust into what who we are and what we're doing. And so, let's ride with that.
Dave, I know 2020 was different, but a lot of times in the schedule you got non-conference, boom, 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 and then on into Big 12 play. This year, you play 2, get into Big 12 play, and then obviously you'll step out of it in October to play BYU. How do you kind of feel about that as a coach? I mean, do you like the way it plays out, or would you rather have them all stacked together, at the start of the year?
I haven't really thought about it. I think, we'll take it, one thing at a time. But I think, just in thinking just about BYU, I just like the respect I have for their coaches and their staff. A lot of them I've worked with before, and then others I've known for a long time. They are going to be prepared and ready and all of it. So it's going to, we can look at it as a conference game in a lot of ways. And so, however they lay it out, we're going to try to knock them down.
Dave, JT mentioned it after the game, the student section, the way they were, and the fact that they stayed the whole game. How cool was that to see?
Way cool, yeah. They were bringing energy the whole time. And so our guys felt it, And so just the energy that came from there, right, the sounds that came from there was all real. And it's reflected on our end, I think when you're in games like the one we were just in, with the score being what it is, the ability to focus and the ability to, when you're going out yet again for a kickoff or whatever it is, it's any bit of emotion coming from the student section helps. And so, way impressed. I look forward to next time.
Matt Jones has been, he's worked himself into a lot of playing time. What did he do to impress you?
He's a playmaker. He has a great, he's got a knack. And so we have a fair amount of those guys on defense. I think, PD is one. We just talked about JT. Terrell is one. We've got guys that have the ability to process real quick and play with a kind of a freedom, so you can play within the scheme, but you're playing lights out fast. And it's difficult to do that, and Matt's able to do it. There's a stretch there where I think he impacted about 4 drives in a row, just making plays. And so he's somebody that can play inside and outside, and so his value is very strong, and he's only going to continue to get better.
Do you think Gary is where you want him to be through week 2?
I think Gary has improved. I think Gary's standards for himself are very high. I think Gary's got a really, really strong confidence, and I think he is probably worst and best self-critic, and I think Gary's always going to push himself to excel and going to look for ways to get better and ways to improve. And so, the more I learn about Gary, man, the more I love him, and just really fortunate that he's on our side of things and that the team gets to see his work ethic and his care factor and how a pro would do it. So I'm thankful for him.
Dave, their QB, Jason Bean, what do you see from him?
Dangerous, fast. Some of the issues that came up with Texas State and our rush and our lack of pass rush integrity is a concern with him. I think, in speaking earlier in some of the schemes that Kansas has, there's some beginning parts of, wide zone and maybe counter and split zone and what they're doing. A lot of it is going to be, there's a play, it breaks down, and their quarterback runs for 30 yards, And so we have to be much improved in that phase of it, both the coverage and the vision, and then the rush lanes and the rush integrity, because he could be one of their stronger weapons.
Dave, when you look across the country and see teams like Texas losing, Utah, for example, as well, you see the volatility of college football this year. Does that add any confidence or change your confidence looking forward this season?
No, I think, it's what you sign up for. I think the ability for football to I think you train for a competitive maturity, for whether, so you are at your best authentic self is out there, kind of for everyone to see when it's the most stressful and the most competitive environment. And I think that's what football is. I would see it that way. And so you train for that, and then you get in the game. I think, so it's another level of it. But to be at your best when you worked really hard to get something, and you put in the time for it, and it don't happen, right? And in the moment, handle it the right way. I think that's our challenge, And so, yeah, I think football is a game of setbacks, right? And a game of random events. And so it's all about how you respond to it.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you, guys.